Alhamdulillah, salatu wassalamu ala nabiyyina wa habibina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa ashabihi ajma'in. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This this discussion today is going to be related to Muslim reverts, the dialogue and conversations on social media. Are the conversations beneficial, or is it worthless? Uh, for the last few weeks, I have seen a lot of brothers, alhamdulillah, having great discussions about some of the things the revert community go through, the ups and the downs. And this type of dialogue or this type of conversation, I believe it have limits um, based on social media. And some of the limits for the dialogue or the is uh, discussion is not actions. And some might say, well, you need to have discussions before you have any actions. And I disagree with that a lot because things pertaining to the revert Muslim community, whether what are the ins and outs or some of the problems they go through in the community or some of their struggles as new Muslims, uh, uh, this discussion, who does it benefit? Is this type of discussion um, is left for a convert or the revert to have a space on social media to talk about some of their struggles? Or is this discussion is a place where people who are involved in educating Muslims related to the religion, for them to get feedback related to their works on how to deal with the revert Muslim community? And this is where I have my own opinion in this area, where I think that this is something, in my opinion, based on my own me being a revert myself. I believe that these discussions have little benefit if there's no action. And what I mean by there's no action, when there's no collaboration outside of social media to deal with the revert Muslim community as a interaction that is being done together, meaning that with groups of Muslims or bodies of Muslims. So the dialoguing and the discussion might benefit a few, but it doesn't benefit the reverts altogether. And why I say that the discussion does not benefit the reverts altogether, well, talking about converts or reverts and the things they go through is nothing new in Islam. These are not new discussions. These are not something just came about yesterday. I mean, people converting to Islam, people have been converting to Islam for centuries now. And when we have these discussions, in particular with Muslims in the West, America, UK, or any other place in Europe or Canada, North America, South America, or we are talking particular for United States, the revert community needs a community itself. They need a one body community. And discussions talking about what are they're doing or what's happening, it really does not set the framework for doing something that's going to be a group action done together. So if the revert conversations or in discussions about what the revert Muslims go through, if there's no follow up, meaning that they're not doing anything about it, and it's not doing collaterally as a group or as a Muslim community, I think that these talks and discussion After a period of time, a very short period of time, these discussions will be dropped and people will talk about other things. And those same reverts that you were talking to or discussing about, that they go without being dealt with, meaning that they have these discussions, they put their problems or their issues on the table, and there's no real resolution that is tangible. That is a tangible resolution, meaning that there's no collaborating. So if we're going to have these discussions about the revert Muslim community and some of their dilemma and some of the issues that they go through, especially in America, I don't see no benefit in this if there's no collaboration after, meaning that there's no community or institution where they could go to where people are helping them. Now, when I look at the individuals who are having these discussions, I know that it's not a collaboration with the bodies of Muslims or those in authority or those who have communities. It's not something being done collectively this way. It's done by individuals or small groups, 2 or 3 peoples, or an individual who's talking, discussing to address maybe their own community, which might be a physical community in the masjid or a community based online only. And honestly, I believe that this is half stepping, and we have a lot in the U.S. in particular for the Muslims in the inner city or societies. Thank you. In the inner city and societies where, sorry, look at us with my mouth. In society where there is no outlets, meaning that there's no place. Thank you for sending me late mail. There's no place outside of the online for them to go get help, except for 1 or 2 communities that maybe they gather in. So there needs to be a collaboration, and there needs to be a collaboration where we're going to get results. What does the revert Muslim community needs instead of what are they going through, right? And some might say, well, you need to know what they're going through to know what they need. We already know what reverts need. Americans reverting or converting to Islam is nothing new in Islam. That within itself is not new in the Ummah. All right, that within itself is not new in the Ummah of Islam. Muslims have been converting or reverting into Islam for centuries. Countries have been coming to Islam from in the past, from centuries. Communities globally have been coming to Islam. So these discussions are not new in the Ummah. And I think that when we discuss these things, we need to look at how the nations and communities outside of the U.S. in the Muslim world, how do they come to Islam and convert, and how did Islam, right? Yeah, I know, Derek, you're right about this. Revert Muslims, I know. I'm just using the term because the people were using this term, right? I just want to read what you're saying, Derek Jabril. He said, a revert Muslim, I have never heard of this. The Prophet Muhammad set up the one ummah, one believing community. There are no adjectives, communities, only those who created them in their mind or hands. So I think that when people talk about revert Muslims, Derek, they're talking about people who convert to Islam, right? Who are converts. And I think that within the U.S., the convert community, from discussions that I have been hearing and listening to people's, that some of their issue is related to how they're learning Islam, depending on where they at. Are they learning? Are people teaching Muslims Islam after they take Shahada? Some of the things that they go through ups and downs. The the text or the wording of revert Muslim. This is something I never heard of before. Just Muslims in the West use this. The correct word is to convert, right? Because revert means you need to be part of something, leave it, and come back, right? So some of the Muslims' understanding of the where revert comes from, there's nothing really authentic that really states this word revert, right? So they're part of the ummah. All right. And I think maybe there's a lag between your comment and what I just said, that Muslims have been converting in the Ummah for centuries. All right. People have been coming to Islam for centuries. Okay. If we look at the majority of the Muslim world, all of them people who are converted to Islam. We look at Indonesia, they converted to Islam. You look at parts of Bangladesh, Bangladesh, Pakistan, these people who, right, countries, the people what converted to Islam centuries ago. If we look at in African nations, these are people who converted to Islam centuries ago. So the issue of convert Muslims or revert Muslims is nothing new in the Ummah, and scholars address these issues. But I think in the content related to North America, people are speaking a little bit more about cultural things, new Muslims coming to the community, having a Western cultural background, meeting Muslims who have a maybe a cultural background from a Muslim country that might not be Islamic culture, and some of the ups and downs when it comes to them learning Islam from communities like this, where the people really are not knowledgeable about the Muslims and they might be practicing culture instead of practicing Islam. So I think this is some of the dialogues that some of the people are having is related to this. What I'm stating is very different. I'm stating that instead of having dialogues about that and talking about that, because we already know the issues of convert Muslims, or do you want to say revert or convert, is that this is nothing new in the Ummah of Islam. But being in a non-Muslim country where the government is not Islamic and it's not a majority Muslim country, that there's going to be some type of social issues that are going to come up, cultural issues that are going to come up, especially living as Muslim minority, living as a Muslims minority in a majority non-Muslim country. So when we have the dialogues about these issues and all the things that come with it, we need to have real discussions, or discussions that's going to lead to what are we going to do, instead of long discussions with no reactions, meaning there's no implementation of anything. All right. What the revert Muslim community needs is that they need to have actions. They need to have actions. And what type of actions? It need to be some type of collaborating between different imams, different people who are involved in dawah, and let them sit down and talk about how do we fix some of the issues that some of the revert Muslims are going through. I believe, me personally, I believe that these discussions without some type of framework after, if there's no framework set up after and no collaborating with this framework, then these discussions become a waste of time, right? We need to have some type of actions, collaborating. We need to have some type of framework where people are going to put the framework into production or working it, basically. So we can't have discussions without any type of real framework and collaborating after these discussions are done. Because having discussions about what converts go through is nothing new in the Ummah of Islam. It is nothing new. All right. Maybe Islam or Islamic knowledge and information is new to Muslims in America, but it's not new to the Ummah of Islam. Ummah of Islam, right? If you read in the books of fiqh, there's many things related to convert Muslims in societies that are non-Arabic speakers who converted to Islam. There's many discussions about these things, and the discussions about these topics is not related to one type of race of Muslims, right? You can look at some conversations. I remember somebody asked a sheikh, a very famous sheikh, should the Muslim who convert to Islam from the non-Arabs, should he say the Shahada in English or Arabic, right? Right? And the Sheikh, who's a very famous Sheikh, who's not Arab, and he says, yeah, they have to learn Arabic. They have to take the Shahada in Arabic. And he gave all his dalil, his proofs. And then he mentioned that all the non-Arabic Muslim countries who converted to Islam, how they pronounce the Quran very well and recite it because they have to learn these things, right? So these discussions about what revert Muslims go through is nothing new in the Ummah, right? What we need to start having with the discussion is the framework. What's after all the talks are done, what's going to be the results? What we're going to start implementing? What framework we have set up? Who are the people collaborating, right, to address these issues? Why I say address these issues and collaborating together. Well, if the reverts are having discussions, or they're discussing some of the things they're going through that might be the ups and downs, well, that's going to eventually or turn out to if they're going to stay Muslim or not. How productive they're going to be practicing Islam, right? That's a real reality. So we need to have framework and collaboration between people who are involved in dawah, and not layman Muslims who are involved in dawah. Muslims who have knowledge involved in dawah, having a real framework and collaborating with other peoples who have knowledge of Islam, who are working with the convert Muslim community, not layman Muslims. If the layman Muslims want to be part of this, I truly believe that people who have knowledge need to have training sessions for people who are not scholarly in Islam, but they want to be involved in dawah. They need to also have a framework with a Islamic education with it, because I find some of the layman Muslims do more harm when it comes to new Muslims because they don't have the knowledge, right? So it needs to be a framework with a collaboration. Can't just be lip service because it's a good topic that would get views. It can't be lip service or discussion because it's a good topic that's going to get views on social media. It has to be a real framework with collaboration. And I think the elephant in the room in this discussion pertaining to US, the elephant in the room is very hard, I say, for the indigenous Muslims, right, who in America, right, those people who are originally from America, right, African American, Latinos, indigenous peoples, those people who are American who convert to Islam. The elephant in the room is that they do not know how to work together as a group of peoples. That's the elephant in the room. And some of the peoples who are having these discussions about the revert or convert community, how to deal with them and deal with the issues that they have and teach them Islam, the elephant in the room that's stagnating them is that they don't have collaboration with other Western Muslims who are from America. We don't know how to work together. So having these discussions with this elephant in the room is going to lead to nothing productive coming out of the discussions where there's a framework and collaboration being in place. Because we cannot even come to the table and sit down and talk about, now let's act on this. Let's make an institution for this. Let's make a chapter in certain areas for this. If we cannot collaborate together, then we definitely won't be able to have a framework and make this framework actionary. As Derek Jerome is reading your comment, just give me a second. You say yes, sir. The issue I have is that Islam universally and its people. For example, the Quran speaks of those needs that can be appreciated. Uh, to the Arabs, like rivers flowing in dry climate, that's the need of those who live in those realities. Islam in the West have different realities that will cause us to have different views of life. I agree with you, sir, but our realities demand a Islam that will speak to Muslims' needs. Correct. All right. Yes. So you got what I'm trying to say now. Alhamdulillah. So the discussions, it's good. But if we cannot work together as peoples, and that's the elephant in the room when it comes to the revert or the indigenous Muslims, Muslims from America, right? The immigrant Muslim community, right? If there's no collaboration and you don't know how to work together and they don't come together, well, then what's the point having these discussions? Especially if the people who are discussing about them, they can't get the other ones who agree with them, who have knowledge of Islam, who are like-minded, when they can't even come to the table and sit together and do anything in their own community together. So these are some of the things that we're going to have to fix. For example, what I have noticed in the black community in America, the Muslim community, is that black people, we don't know how to work together before Islam. And with Islam now, Islam have the solutions, right? Ta'amanu, work together, alal birr wa taqwa, right? On piety and fearing the law, right? Tawassal bil haqqi, hold on, right? Tawassal bil haqq, call to the to truth together. All these ayat, the wording in Arabic, means doing something in the group together, right? Hablillahi jami'an, right? Hold on to the rope of Allah together, right? These verses in Quran, all these things are talking about Muslims working together. In the indigenous Muslim community, especially the African American Muslim community, before Islam, we have this problem. And because now we're Muslim and some of us have knowledge and we're practicing Islam, but we haven't learned how to use Islam to work together. So if that's the elephant in the room, and you having discussions related to the convert community, dealing with the issues, but if you as people who are imams, people involved in dawah, people who have knowledge, can't collaborate because you don't know how to work together, and we haven't gone through this stage yet in Islam, then for sure, whatever conclusions you come to at the end, you won't be able to put it together or put it into actions. Because you don't have the collaboration and we don't know how to work together and sit down and have these discussions. We can sit down and have these discussions with certain individuals, but we need to have this discussion as a community whole. And if we cannot work together, then for sure we're not going to have no type of actions or framework that's going to be applicable, or people going to put the framework together or practice the framework. That's plain and simple. So when we're having these discussions, we need to turn around and ask ourselves, what we're going to implement, how we're going to implement this. How are we going to implement this? Because Muslims in the West, we've been discussing this stuff I've been Muslim for over 20 years. I've been hearing this stuff since came into the deen. And I don't really see nothing being applied together as a community. There's nothing being applied. We know the issues of converts into Islam or Western society. We know all the issues. Now fixing them and dealing with this stuff as a community effort, this is where we have issues at, because we don't know how to work together as a community. That's the elephant in the room that no one's discussing about, especially in the black Muslim community. Because we are the ones having these dialogues about the revert community or the convert community, the things they're going through. We're the ones having these dialogues. The immigrant Muslims are not having these dialogues, right? They're not having these dialogues. We are having these dialogues. And we've been having these dialogues for a very long time. And it seems like when people come to the deen through us, it's a revolving door with the issues that people claim they're having. It's the same every 10 years, new converts, same issues they talking about what's going on, the same problems. 10 next 10 years, new reverts, new converts coming to the deen, and it's the same problem all over again because us as a people, as African American Muslims, we haven't learned how to work together as a community. So when people come to the deen through us, some of the issues that they're seeing is because we have issues and we don't know how to collaborate and work together as Muslims. And the Quran instructs this. Surah Asr and instructs this. Hold on to the rope of the law and be not divided. Another ayat that focus on this. Right? Do things mutually together. Fear Allah mutually together. Cooperating. All these things are in the Quran. All these things are part of the religion. And we can't do that. As I notice as African American Muslims. So as long as we're not fixing that issue, I mean, we could discuss about anything in the community, and we're not going to get any positive results at the end of the discussion. There's no framework that's going to be implemented because we can't get collaborating with other people like us who live in the same same community in the same conditions of us everywhere in the U.S. We can't get no collaborating working together. So if we're going to have these discussions about the framework for reverts, and there's no one to implement it, and we can't implement it together as a community, we're wasting our time. I think we're discussing the wrong thing. We need to start discussing why we can't collaborate with each other, and the religion instructs that. That's the religion is instructing that. You know, the religion instructs all these things. And brother, he distracted me with your comment. The religion instructs all these things, and if this is not understood, and we're not implementing this, then when we try to come and fix other issues, then at the end of the day, there's no type of implementation or implementing none of these things because we don't know how to work together. Like I go social media right now, I look at some of the convert community, the American community. When I listen to them discuss these things, I see about 10 people talking about the same topic. 10 peoples on Facebook, on YouTube, talking about the same topic. And out of the 10 people talking about it, some of them live in the same towns. They live in the same communities, and they're complaining and talking about the same thing or discussing the same thing. There's out of the 10 people, only 2 of them working together. That's something wrong with the picture. And all of them saying the same thing, but only 2 of them out of the 10 is working together. That is something wrong with that picture. And you guys live all in the same town or neighboring states or neighboring communities. Something is wrong with that picture. That's the sign that we do not know how to work together. And we can make all the excuses. Oh, I have a job. I have my family. Well, the Prophet ﷺ had a job. The Prophet ﷺ had family. The Sahabas had family. The Sahabas had mas'uliyah, responsibilities, and they worked together still for the dawah of Islam. So what are we complaining about? What's holding us back? It means that we don't understand how to work together. And if that's the issue, then no matter what issue we try to attack and fix, we're never to be able to fix these things if we don't know how to collaborate and work together upon bir and taqwa. As long as you have hatred, as long as everybody wants to be the leader of the clique, running the show, then you would never have collaboration. And collaboration is part of Islam. That's right, brother Derek. You see all the signs already. All the signs. Juma Salat. What does Juma mean? Look at the word Jum'ah, the asr of the kalimat of Jum'ah. It's come from the word Jama'ah. Means to collectively do something. So the Juma Salat. We collectively going hearing the sermon and collectively being quiet, listening to the sermon, collectively praying. We pray the conjugation. We're doing this collectively. Raku'u ma'a raki'in, kama qala Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Bow down with those who bow down. Collectively. Hajj. Collectively. We do it individually, but it's collectively by the ummah. Yes or no? We see all the signs in the deen, but we don't see them. They're there, but we don't see them. Abu Usad. Is your name Abu Asad? I think you mean Asad. Abu Asad. You said it is impossible to collaborate when there are some Muslims who look at others as impure or deviant from their lenses. Yes, that is a problem. That is part of the problem. Yes. Yes, that is a part of the problem. It's part of the problem. And this is the sign that our understanding and practice of Islam in America is elementary. Our understanding and our practice of Islam is elementary. It's elementary. Say it again. That's the sign that our understanding and practice of Islam in America is elementary. And it's understood why. There is an excuse why. Because Islam is new in America. And there are no Islamic really institutions. There's small institutions, but it's not institutions known like in the Muslim world. So that means that there's not a lot of Islamic institutions, meaning that a lot of the Muslim are not getting Islamic educations properly because they don't have a lot of Islamic scholars. So there's some excuse for that. But you go in the Muslim world, there's no excuse because they have Islam everywhere. They have scholars everywhere. They have Islamic institutions everywhere. Islam been there for centuries. But in America, we lack these elements. And this is why when I say people who are having these discussions and they are individuals who have Islamic knowledge, they went to study Islam, they have degrees or shahada, things like this, right? They have a degree or a shahada. They have these things. They need to be collaborating with other people who are just like them, dealing with these issues. If that is a problem within itself, like I said, I could find 10 peoples on social media, Facebook, YouTube, was talking about this issue about the Revert community, and I say and listen to them. Out of the 10 people, only 2 of them together. There's no collaborating, even though all of them see the same problem. There's no collaboration, even in the discussion. And all of them see the same problem, and some of them live in the same states or neighboring communities. 10. We make all the excuse. I'm busy with my job, my kids, my work, this, that. The Prophet had a job, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. That didn't stop him. The companions have al-mas'uliyah, responsibilities for their families. That didn't stop them. That's right. The problem is not the truth. The problem are the inner contradictions and false beliefs of one's own importance. None is greater than Allah. That's right. This is the contradictions with our personal beliefs, not the religious beliefs, not what Islam say. Our personal beliefs. These are the conjunctive issues. Actually, they are conjunctive issues. have all the discussions. It's great, but no collaboration, no framework with collaboration, no results. So you just, it's like hot air. I'll end on this note. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك واشهد ان لا اله الا انت استغفرك واتوب اليك.